Before moving forward, we need to stabilize what's been established so far, not summarize it, stabilize it, because if these foundations aren't clear, everything that follows becomes distorted. The first thing that needs to be locked in is this: truth is not relative. Truth is simply that which describes an actual state of affairs. It does not change based on how you feel about it, how inconvenient it is, or whether you agree with it. What's very interesting is that people don't actually live as if truth is relative. They expect objective truth all the time. When you go to the bank, you expect the numbers to be correct. When you go to the doctor, you expect an accurate diagnosis. When you get on a plane, you expect the laws of physics to be real. When you sign a contract, you expect words to mean what they say. No one says, "That's just your truth," to a banker when their account balance doesn't show the $1 million they thought was there. The same thing applies at the doctor's office. If you're told your blood pressure is dangerously high, you don't respond with, "Well, that's not my truth." You expect the measurement to be accurate because your health depends on it. In those moments, everyone understands that reality doesn't negotiate. The numbers either reflect what's happening or they don't. But in other areas, morality, responsibility, success, personal behavior, people suddenly claim truth is subjective. Not because it actually is, but because objective truth in those areas demands accountability. And accountability is uncomfortable. So the issue is not whether truth exists. The issue is where people are willing to apply it. The second thing that must be clear is how your brain actually works. You do not experience reality directly. Your brain is constantly interpreting, predicting, and filling in gaps, most of it outside your conscious awareness. There is a conscious part of your mind that reasons, explains, and tells stories. And there is a subconscious part that is always working in the background, detecting patterns, managing emotions, and trying to keep you safe and efficient. This isn't speculation. This is basic cognitive psychology. The subconscious brain is fast, automatic, and pattern-driven. The conscious brain is slower, deliberate, and narrative-based, and most of what you believe about yourself and the world is shaped long before your conscious mind gets involved. This is where induction comes in. The human brain learns inductively. That means it looks at repeated information and assumes it reflects reality, whether it does or not. If the brain sees something over and over again, it builds connections to make sense of it. Familiarity becomes credibility. This is why repeated exposure matters more than isolated facts. Take the news as an example. News organizations disproportionately show conflict, danger, outrage, and drama, not because the world is only those things, but because those things capture attention. Attention increases viewership. Viewership increases revenue. This is not a conspiracy, it's a business model. But if you consume that information daily, your brain begins to infer that the world is primarily hostile, unstable, and threatening. Not because it's objectively true, but because that's the data you're feeding it. The brain connects the dots it's given. The same process applies to social media, workplace narratives, relationship stories, and even internal self-talk. Repetition creates perceived truth. This is also why self-deception works. Your mind isn't trying to lie to you, it's trying to reduce discomfort. If acknowledging something would require change, confrontation, or loss, the brain will soften the edges. It will explain things away. It will create narratives that feel reasonable but delay action. And those narratives feel true because they are familiar, emotionally soothing, and internally consistent. But internal consistency is not the same as truth. A belief can feel logical, coherent, and justified, and still be wrong if it's built on false premises. This is why logical validity and truth are not the same thing. If your starting assumptions are incorrect, everything that follows may sound reasonable while leading you further from reality. This is how people stay stuck without realizing it. So, here's what matters at this checkpoint. First, understand that you already rely on objective truth every day. You just apply it selectively. Second, recognize that your brain is constantly learning from repetition, not accuracy. Third, accept that comfort and truth often diverge, and when they do, the brain tends to protect comfort unless you intervene consciously. The action here is not to fix anything yet. The action is to notice. Notice where you demand objective truth in some areas of your life, but reject it in others. Notice what you repeatedly consume: information, conversations, narratives, and what assumptions they reinforce. Notice how quickly explanations appear when something feels uncomfortable. Ask whether those explanations are true or simply convenient. This isn't about judging yourself. It's about calibrating your internal model of reality. Because clarity doesn't come from motivation, it comes from alignment. And alignment starts when you stop confusing familiarity with truth. In the next core lesson, we're going to look at how the mind actively avoids truth once it becomes uncomfortable, not because you're weak or dishonest, but because self-deception is a built-in protective function of the brain. Once you understand how that mechanism works, you stop taking your thoughts at face value. You start seeing where explanations are helping and where they're quietly keeping you stuck. Truth is the foundation. Self-deception is the obstruction. The next step is learning how to recognize it.